Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, whatever time you may be listening to this session. Welcome, students. First of all, I want to celebrate you all. You are amazing. And I don't want anybody to tell you otherwise. You are amazing for the fact that you're here, for the fact that you want to learn. You are amazing. I want you to think about this. Think about how many people decided to go on a journey. They wanted to travel abroad to study. They wanted to study in their own country, but they never got past the application form. You guys are amazing, capital A. So today we will be looking at business fundamentals. So today is the first series, the first week in our module. By the time we finished, hopefully, you are all going to be amazing entrepreneurs. But remember what I said in the introduction, you must do the work. These slides are only the beginning. This presentation is only the beginning. This talk class is only the beginning. The rest is down to you. So my question is, how are you going to distinguish yourself as a learner? Do you understand? The world is your oyster now. Do you understand? The world is such a small place. We've got ChatGTP, we've got Google, we've got so many different ways, YouTube, Spotify, podcasts, research papers, so many ways that you can distinguish yourself as a learner. So ensure that you do that. Don't just come here and, when I was in university, we used to say, can you remember this? Let my people go, privileged to have studied in the University of Ibadan a long time ago. Maybe I graduated before many of you were born, but I had some amazing times when I was there. But you know what? I wasn't that motivated. Do you understand? Had I known what I know now, guys, honestly, I would have left with nothing less than a first class. But you have the opportunity. So do everything in your power because, think of showing your certificate to your children in the future. You want to show them something that you have carefully created with love and care. You understand? Not something that you just threw out. Do you understand? So give this your best. So we're looking at business fundamentals. And the first thing we'll be looking at is defining business fundamentals and their importance. We're going to be understanding the key principles of business fundamentals. We're going to be identifying essential characteristics of a strong business foundation. And we're also going to look at learning methods to establish business fundamentals. We'll be looking at exploring how to apply them in different settings and analyze a real world entrepreneurial case study. So first things first, what are business fundamentals? So they are the core principles and practices that underpin the effective operation, management, and growth of a business. It's the very foundation of your business. What are your goals? What are the concepts? What are the practices that are essential for running and understanding business? What are the concepts and practices essential for running and understanding a business? So let's look back at the cake. You can't make a cake. Well, you can make a cake without egg now because they have eggless cakes, but without flour, you understand, without ingredients, a cake cannot be made, as an example. All right. So understanding business fundamentals. So we're going to be looking at the important features to look at, to note, to review while understanding business fundamentals. Number one, there's no business without a vision, a mission, and values. And can I let you know into a little secret? A lot of your personal self goes into your business vision, mission, and values. The values that you stand by, they also go into that. So your business strategy and planning incorporates your vision, your mission, your values. It's all about defining the purpose and what are the guiding principles of your business. So it could be things like, what is your SWOT analysis? What are the strengths, the weaknesses, the opportunities, and the threats of the business? Yeah, you got to look at that. Who else is doing what you're doing as as a threat. You got to look at your strengths. What are your strengths? What are your resources? Who are your key staff? What are you understand? Then you've got to look at your business model. What model will you be looking at? Will you be looking at, a membership model, a franchise model, a subscription model, a direct selling model? How does your company create, deliver, and capture value? And then you got to look at your strategic planning. You got to look at setting long-term goals, your actionable steps. Are your goals smart? So I'm going to leave smart to you. Go and look up what is a SMART goal. SMART. I'm not going to do all the work for you. This is about you and me working together. So go and look up what is a SMART goal, and many of you will know. And then we got to look at competitive advantage. So what are the differentiation strategies? What is cost leadership? What is your innovation? What is your niche focus? What is your unique selling point? What are you doing that nobody else is doing? That's your USP, your unique selling point. Okay, let's continue. Then we got to look at your operations management, your supply chain management. Where are you sourcing from? What's your production? What's your distribution process? Then we got to look at quality control. We look at methods like Six Sigma, Lean, and total quality management. We're going to be looking at that later, but nothing stops you from going to look at what does lean mean? What does Six Sigma mean? What does total quality management mean? You got to look at all that. Then we got to look at project management. We look at how to workflow the initiative. There are project management tools that are out there. There's Trello, there's Agile, there's Scrum, there's things like Slack. You have to look at what works best for your business. And then we look at process optimization. We're looking at improving efficiency and reducing waste, because you're not in a business, as an example, if the business cannot survive without you being there. You're not in a business, for example, if you're not making any money. Do you understand? At least along the line, you might not make money initially, but you've got to start making money eventually, because if not, there's no point in you having a business. All right. And then we got to look at financial management. We got to look at your accounting basics, financial statements, your profit and loss, your income statements, your balance sheet, your cash flow statements. We got to look at budgeting and forecasting. We got to look at how you're allocating resources and predicting your financial performance. Do you have an accountant? Are you doing it by yourself? Do you have a bookkeeper? All of these are important right from the onset. Then you got to look at your cash flow management. You got to ensure that you've got money in the bank. You've got money to pay your staff, money to flow with the business. You got to look at operational stability. And then you've got to look at your investment analysis, your return on investment, your break-even analysis, and your capital budgeting. And then we go on to marketing and sales. We got to look at marketing research, understanding your customer needs and market trends. We got, nothing in life is static. The business world is almost like fashion. In the 70s, everybody was wearing, bell-bottom trousers. Everybody was wearing caftans and things like that. Some things stay in fashion, but some things go out of fashion, and some things evolve with fashion. So same thing with your market research. You must not be static. And then we got the marketing mix. What is the product? What's your price? Where are you selling? How are you promoting? Those are the 4 Ps. And then we look at digital marketing as an example. Now we're in the digital age. When I was growing up, we didn't have social media. As an example, it was all about print media. Was amazing then, but print media is still in existence, but it's a dying art. Now we've got search engine optimization, we've got social media, we've got content marketing, we've got email campaigns, we've got so many different ways for you to get your product and service out there. And then we've got your sales strategy, you've got lead generation. We've got some people, that's all they do. If you're on LinkedIn, as an example, I'm on LinkedIn as a coach. And as an entrepreneur, I get so many direct messages. Oh, I can help you get more clients. I can 10x your clients, blah, 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 blah. We got people doing that role. We got negotiation. We got customer retention to look at. So many different things. And then we got the human side of the business, your HR. How do you recruit staff, talent acquisition, onboarding, employer branding, performance management, employee evaluation, 360-degree. We got things like psychometric testing, feedback, incentives for staff. We've got training and development. All of these are different departments within. You've got upskilling your team, leading your team, leadership programs, companies sending staff out of Nigeria, for example, for training. Then we've got all the labor laws that we need to adhere to, compliance with employment regulations and workshop safety. And then also we've got legal and regulatory compliance. Every country has its laws and regulations. You can't just decide to start a business and you don't take account of the laws and the regulation. So we have business structures, whether it's an LLC, corporation, limited by guarantee, limited partnerships, sole proprietorships. Then we got contracts, intellectual property. Can you imagine if you make an invention and then somebody comes to steal it? You've got to make sure that your property, your intellectual property is covered. We got trademarks, patents, licensing agreements, etc. If not, the world would be upside down if we didn't have all these rules and regulations. Then we've got regulatory compliance, adhering to industry-specific laws. In the UK, we have GDPR, which means you can't just take people's data. You can't just post people online. You need permission. And then we have OSHA. I want you to go and read about those, GDPR and OSHA. And then we got economics for business. We got microeconomics, supply and demand, pricing strategies, elasticity. We've got macroeconomics, GDP, inflation, fiscal and monetary policies. And then we've got market structures, monopoly, oligopoly, perfect competition, etc. And then we've got technology and innovation, digital transformation, adopting tech tools, e.g., AI, cloud computing. And then we've got e-commerce, online sales platforms and payment systems. And then we've got data analytics and using business intelligence. We've got business intelligence software, tools for decision making. So all of these things are needed in business fundamentals. And we'll be looking at these as we go along. And then we got ethics and corporate social responsibility. I say this often, a lot of companies now are giving back. People don't want to just work with companies who don't give to the society, who are just making money so that the MD and the senior staff can drive Rolls Royce. Life is a little bit more than that. And then we've got corporate governance, ethical leadership and board responsibilities. Then we've got sustainability, environmental, social and governance practices. And then we've got community engagement and ethical resources. And then we've got entrepreneurship and risk management. Then we've got business planning, writing a business plan, securing funding, and how you secure funding. How do you get funding for your business? Are you bootstrapping? Are you, pitching before angel investors? Different ways to get money in. Then you've got to look at your risk assessment. You've got to identify and mitigate operational, financial, or market risk. And then you've got to look at what if things go wrong? What is crisis management? How do we prepare for disruption? We've all just gone through a major disruption in 2020, 2021, when we had pandemics. Lots of companies had to pivot. Lots of companies had to now look at, right, we can't do face-to-face. How do we do a virtual offering, as an example? And then we've got cyber attacks. We've got people who it's their job to destroy other businesses. And you've got to stand against that and be ready. And then we're going to look at globalization and international business. We've got to look at global supply chains. Look at companies like DHL, UPS. They're in almost every country, but they didn't start like that. How did they do it? You understand? So you've got to look at global supply chains, managing cross-border logistics and tariffs. You've got to look at all the different laws in all the countries, all the different tariffs that are in place. And then you've got to look at cultural competence. You've got to be ready to do business in Asia, to do business in Australia, to do business in South Asia, etc., etc. You've got to think about doing business in different nations and adapting the culture of those businesses. And then we've got looking at trade agreements, the impact of treaties, etc., EU regulations, etc. And then we got to look at organizational behavior and leadership styles, autocratic, democratic, transformational, organizational culture, building values, trust, and employee engagement. And then we've got change management, guiding teams through transitions, through mergers and acquisitions, tech adoption. You as an entrepreneur, depending on your business, have got to put all of these into place. And then we've got customer relationship management. How do you manage your CRM? How do you manage and keep your customers? What are the loyalty programs you're using? Look at personalized marketing. You look at CRM tools, for example, Salesforce and HubSpot. You've got to take care of your customers. You've got to find out what they think via customer feedback, using surveys and reviews to improve your service. You cannot be in business and not improve service. And then we have business communication, internal communication. How do you work with your team? My team, we use WhatsApp, we use Slack, for example, we use email. What are you using? Team collaboration. And how do you manage conflict? And then we have external communication, your PR, your branding, your stakeholder engagement. How do you look after the people who make up the external factor of your business? And then you've got to look at negotiation skills, techniques for partnerships and sales, mediation. All those kind of things are really important. So the key principles of business fundamentals are: number one, prioritize your customers' needs. There's no business that doesn't have customers in one shape or form. How do you put your customers at the center of your business, yeah, or your beneficiaries if you are a nonprofit? And then you've got financial literacy. You should know. You might not know everything, but you must. That's why training is important. How do you manage your cash flow, your budgets, and your return on investment? And then you've got to look at strategic alignment. You've got to link your daily operation with your long-term goals. Where are you going? Where are you headed? And then you've got to look at your adaptability. You've got to be flexible. We look at a story when I teach my postgraduate students in the UK. We look at Netflix and Blockbuster. Netflix came to meet Blockbuster and said, hey, listen, why don't we do business together? And Blockbuster said, no, we're happy as we are. But look at Netflix. Netflix are still riding high. Nobody hears of Blockbuster. They went out of business because they did not adapt to market changes. Nobody's using video anymore. Look at Kodak as an example. Look at our phones now. Our phones are our cameras, they're our videos, they're our offices. You've got to adapt to the changing needs of society. And then we've got ethical governance. You've got to operate with integrity and compliance. There's no business who does not use these to operate that will be in business in 10 years. You've got to be in business for the long haul. Don't say, I'm just going to go in and make money. No, it doesn't work like that. You've got to be in business to leave your legacy. All right. So characteristics of a strong business are: it's got to be scalable. You understand? You've got to have systems that will grow the business. It's got to be sustainable too. Don't have a business that's destroying the environment. It's also got to be financially viable. You've also got to be efficient. And we're going to look at some of these later. It's got to be resilient. You understand? It's got to stand the test of time. You have to have, risk mitigation and crisis readiness. And then you must have a clear vision and mission. You must be financially stable and sustainable. And then you must have a market awareness and be flexible. Remember what I just told you about Netflix and Blockbuster? We've also got Yahoo, the same thing with Yahoo. The same thing with Yahoo. I can't remember the name of the CEO, when she took over, she was on the salary of a 46 million, but she was not flexible and it brought down Yahoo. And then you've got to have a strong organizational structure and strong people leading the team. You can't know everything in your business. So if you don't know everything, bring in the hands that know more than you know. And then, as I said, you've got to have a customer-centric approach. Right. So how do you determine and establish business fundamentals? Number one, the framework starts with this. Number one, you got to define your vision and your mission. You have to have a guiding purpose. Why do we exist? What do we see? What do we want to achieve? And then who are your customers? You got to conduct effective market research. Analyze who are your customers. You can't be in business for everybody. What's your niche? Is it women over 40? Is it ethnic women? Is it women of a certain color? Is it women of a certain income bracket? You've got to analyze. You can't sell to everybody. If you want to sell to everybody, it's the sure route to failure. Then who are your competitors? And then you got to develop your strategic plan. And that must align with your SWOT analysis. What are your strengths, your weaknesses, your opportunities, and your threats? Develop your strategic plans. Your goals must align with your vision and your mission. And then you got to build your financial models, your budgets, your forecast, your break-even analysis. And then you've got to look at designing your operational workflows, looking at your supply chain. Okay, so you get it from China. What's the cost from getting it to China? How much is it going to cost you to get it from China? What is all those things? And then how do you get it into Nigeria? What are all the custom, the tariffs and all that? How do you distribute to your customers? What are the quality controls that you put into place? All of these are very important for your business fundamentals. And then, as we said, we're looking at your process optimization. We're looking at compliance. We're looking at your stakeholder management. So, as an example, Coca-Cola, with their secret recipe, they use global supply chains and branding strategies. And let me tell you, I had the privilege to go to the Coca factory in Atlanta, the head office. Coca-Cola is not the same in every country. In fact, Coca-Cola is not even the same color in every country. The Coca-Cola factory in Atlanta, do a Google search on it. They have different supply chains and branding strategies for every nation on planet Earth. It's not the same. The Coca-Cola in Nigeria might be slightly different in taste, as an example, to the Coca-Cola in Europe. So bear that in mind. Not every country will use the same strategies. And then we've got applying business fundamentals in an entrepreneurial setting. So you've got to be agile. You've got to pivot quickly based on feedback. If your customers don't like the taste of the new biscuit, as an example, that you've improved the recipe on. If they say, no, we like the old recipe, we want the old recipe, you got to go back to the old recipe. Because if you don't, your customers won't buy. So you've got to pivot quickly based on feedback. Yeah. And then we have lean models. Companies now are very keen on not wasting resources, not wasting things. So you've got to be very big on that. And also we've got climate, we've got sustainability. Do you have to take that plane flight? Can it go by a more, environmental friendly way, as an example? But to be honest, are there environmental friendly ways? Do you have to print that brochure? Can it be digital? That's what we're looking at. And then we're looking at funding strategies. Are you going to raise money from friends and family? Are you going to bootstrap? Are you going to sell your house, as an example? Are you going to look for angel investors, private equity investors, venture capital? That's what we're looking at. You understand? So look at an example. How did Airbnb validate its market with a minimal viable product? as an example. I want you to remember President Obama, when he was raising money to become the president, he didn't have millions in the bank, but they raised money from people like you and me. People were donating a $5. People were donating $5, $10, $20, and it worked. Crowdfunding, it works, as an example. So let's look at this case study. Applying business fundamentals as an entrepreneur. So what? This is the scene. A food tech startup scaling sustainability. So let me repeat that. A food tech startup scaling sustainability. So we got the vision. The vision is to democratize healthy eating. So what they do, and we've got so many like this. We've got HelloFresh in the UK, for example. So the strategy is a freemium app and subscription meal kits. So they use lean methods to test pricing tiers, because it's not for everybody. Some people might just want a basic. Some people might want a gourmet. Some people might want even more than gourmet. So you've got to do your test pricing. So what they did, they leverage Instagram influencers for low cost marketing. And then they secured seed funding via crowdfunding, and their results was a 200% year on year on growth, and 50K active users. And so what I want you to do is go and look at how Uber started. Go and look at how Bolt started. Go and look at how Amazon started. Look at how Microsoft started. Some of these big names, even some of the Nigerian guy that started Calendly, we all know. Look at how he started. Go and do your homework, because it will help you. When you are asking questions, guess what happens? You learn yourself. So go and look at your own case study. Well done, everyone. So our key takeaways are: the fundamentals are the foundation of all business success. Don't start without your fundamentals. Don't leave anyone out. Number 2, adapt principles to context, e.g., corporate versus startup. The way they start are going to be different. A corporate versus a startup, it's all going to be different. And then continuous improvement. Working towards perfection is what you should be aligning to. And then, most importantly, don't let everybody know this. Leave a legacy. Don't start a business. Look at Oxfam, Save Our Children. They're non-profits. I get it, but they're still in existence today. Coca-Cola, the founders are long dead. KFC, the founders are long dead. McDonald's still going strong. Don't start a business without the vision of this is going to be going way after I've gone. That's the mindset that you should have. So amazing students, it's been a real pleasure speaking to you today. This is another screenshot of the characteristics of strong business fundamentals. Go over this, not just once, not just twice, not just thrice. Keep going over it. Go and do your homework. Do your research. When the students are ready, the teacher appears. Until I see you on another week, have a beautiful weekend. Enjoy yourself, and make sure that you learn. Make sure that you go out of your way. I tell my students in the UK, 1 hour a day can make such a difference. Look at other things on YouTube. Look at podcasts. Read, study to show yourself approved. I wish you all the very best on this journey. Looking forward to meeting you again. Have a beautiful weekend. Take care and God bless. Bye-bye.